Welcome everyone to a brand new video, a brand new blog. My cyber family and friends, soon to become part of this fantastic family. I appreciate you choosing My World Andino to inform yourself on issues happening around the world. Our Western media only communicates the portion favoring their political interests and not what our families need to know. Subscribe to My World Andino. I bring you the details. We are interested in knowing how events got started, how they develop, and the players, all free of charge. I only ask for a comment related to the video. Share the video and like or dislike depending on your views. Enough intro, let's get into today's topic. You may have heard about the demonstrations, protests in Cuba this past July 11th, 2021. Every media outlet found themselves in Cuba, witnessing and letting the world know about the protests. An island of 11 million grabbed the attention of every media outlet from around the world. These protests are due to lack of food, lack of medicine, and high prices of products. These are the effects of 6 decades under brutal criminal blockade plus COVID-19 the last year and a half. The Associated Press was in Cuba, ABC, MSN, Milenio, and many other outlets. Everyone was reporting massive protests in Cuba against Diaz-Canel's government. In case you don't know, he is Cuba's new president, democratically elected. These protests are small in size compared to the overall population in Cuba. In some demonstrations, we could find a few hundred persons. In other demonstrations, smaller groups. Some of these videos were reproduced on Facebook by people in Miami using fake accounts pretending to reside in Cuba. We could hear people yelling, "Libertad, libertad, freedom, freedom." We never saw the people chanting for freedom. Experts in the film and audio industry say it is easy to add audio to any video. I am not a film expert and I can do it. As Nicaragua, Venezuela, Iran, Iraq, and other countries NATO sees as a threat, Cuba has not received COVID-19 vaccines made in the West as punishment for not bowing to capitalism and neoliberalism politicals and policies. Let's remember the countries just mentioned are considered developing nations, militarily speaking, not a threat. Cuba has been able to create its own COVID vaccines. The blockades make it extremely difficult for them to produce any medicine as quickly as necessary for the population. Unfortunately, nations such as Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia, their COVID-19 numbers are much higher. Still, because the governments are pro-transnational and international corporations, neither media or governments who repeatedly claim to handguard human rights and democracy bring it to the world stage. Attention, let's make sure it's understood. The blockades affecting Cuba's economy do not take away Cuba's citizens' right to demonstrate their discontent for the way their life is. Analyzing the entire situation makes me wonder how every media outlet from the Western world got to Cuba even before the protests started bright early 9 a.m. Demonstrations in Cuba remind me of the ones in Bolivia when the coup took place, and the ones in 2013, 2015, Arab Spring, also known as the Middle East Uprising. Every communication media outlet was present, making the planet believe human rights were violated. Citizens in Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan were being assassinated without the right to protest. The pain in Cuba is real. No one can deny it, my friends. Still, international media use Cubans' pain to gain geopolitical position for personal, corporate, and political gain. The independent site El Toque has some Cuba-based stuff. It published an article debunking false anti-government reports. Out of context, photos were circulating on the internet that grossly inflated the size of the demonstrations. A picture from Egypt from years ago was being used as if it was Cuba, July 11th. A sea of people, you could say all 11 million Cubans, were protesting. But as I said, a few hundred here, a few hundred over there, and less in other areas. Still, the government listened to them. But corporate media was saying a different story. Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez accused opposition media of working for the U.S. government, which funds several Cuban opposition media websites with hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. Infobay and NBC were the first to start stream details on the protest on July 11th. I found evidence. International media is trying to use Cubans' pain to destabilizing the nation. In all 12 locations, people demonstrated their discontent with the lack of medicine, food, high prices, and energy outages. Same banners were seen on all 12 locations. History shows how people typically chant and yell out loud whatever individual needs are not being met in their district or city by federal or local authorities. It was not the case in Cuba. Everything was uniform. Digging deeper into these findings, every distribution of these items had to happen days prior. It was a strategy from Washington and Miami. Let me talk to you about a well-financed GNO named the Pan American Democratic Foundation, founded by Rosa Maria Paya. She was born in Cuba, went to university in Cuba. Her education and English skills are thanks to the Cuban Revolution. This woman went to the Havana University. Rosa Maria's trauma is due to her father's death. Rosa Maria Paya blames the Fidel Castro government for her father's careless driving. At least that is my understanding. Rosa Maria Paya's father was driving a vehicle at the time of his death. First, she said her father's death was due to sabotage. Once that theory was no longer valid, she began to blame the doctors for not doing enough. Still, she supports the blockades on medicine to Cuba. Once in Miami, she created the Pan American Democratic Foundation, connected to multiple foundations and organizations worldwide. Cuba decides a brand of the Foundation for Pan American Democracy. Mr. Luis Almagro Lemes, Secretary General of the OAS, with Rosa Maria Paya, are partners in destabilizing Latin America. Cuba Decides brand appears on all protest points in Cuba. This is why I tell you, international organizations want to profit from the pain of our Cuban sisters and brothers. Indeed, inhumane and unethical. My cyberspace, family and friends. Findings indicate these demonstrations were being planned Since March of 2021, Maria Paya has met different times with Marco Rubio, also known as Marco Rubio, left in charge of destabilizing Latin America and deciding who becomes Secretary General of the OAS. Mrs. Rosa Paya has also met with the so-called ambassador of the President of Narnia, Juan Guaido. As you are understanding, this protest were abused by people with third-party targets. People in Cuba are protesting because there is a lack of medicine. There is no way to receive replacements for parts in the medical industry, agricultural industry, and the entire Cuban industry affected by the blockade. This lady has links with every neoliberalist in the America as in Europe. Mrs. Rosa Maria Paya runs a mighty NGOs. My friends, the answer to help Cuba is to stand down all blockades. Minimum the over 200 blockades set by Trump during his 4-year term. Another way to help Cuba is to allow Cuba access to the ingredients necessary for their COVID-19 vaccine created by Cuban scientists. One of their vaccines is 100% effective against the virus. 3 jabs every 2 weeks and the virus will not affect the person. Biden's answer to helping is to send vaccines to Cuba. I find it ridiculous. Why not just allow Cuba to receive the necessary ingredients to continue creating their own? The US government has a need to feel like a hero of the world. In my view, the US government is a jealous beast. As if they can't be the main character and hero of the story, it's open to doing everything to trip others to prevent them from meeting the goal, even if it affects the entire planet. Obviously, they are afraid Cuba can demonstrate to the world socialism is another way of life and prosperity. The UN members have not been able to create a vaccine that protects us all 100%. I talk about Abdala, a vaccine that could be helping us all, but because a capitalist nation didn't create, it's not making waves, it's not making news, it's not on the world stage. My cyber family and friends here supporting this ongoing awesome family, don't forget to subscribe. It's free of charge. Leave a comment, share, give a like or a dislike. Best of all, don't forget to help someone in your community, as you may be the only one who does. Ciao, ciao for now, my friends. Until next video.